Hello, everyone, and welcome to local government. This is our last meeting. So we have some bills to exec today, and I think we're going to take a half an hour to caucus on them. So we will be back at 8:35 after staff briefs the bills.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Elizabeth Allison, staff of the committee. The first bill for executive session today is substitute Senate Bill 6015 concerning residential parking configurations. As a reminder, this bill requires cities and counties planning under the Growth Management Act to follow a specified requirements when enforcing land use regulations regarding parking. There is a striking amendment from Representative Dewar, H-3325.2. This amendment specifies that gravel surfacing in parking areas must be legally nonconforming and be limited to 6 parking spaces to be counted toward parking standards. It also prohibits counties planning under the Growth Management Act and cities within those counties with a population over 6,000 from requiring off-street parking as a condition of permitting a residential project if compliance with tree retention would otherwise make a proposed residential development or redevelopment infeasible. There is one amendment to that striker from Representative Gaynor, Alley 379. This amendment allows parking spots that consist of grass block pavers to count toward minimum parking requirements. There are no further amendments. Next is engrossed substitute Senate Bill 6061 concerning exemptions for housing development under the State Environmental Policy Act. As a reminder, this bill requires jurisdictions planning under the Growth Management Act to take additional actions prior to exempting a proposed housing development from the State Environmental Policy Act. It also requires a city or county to establish the housing development categorical exemption by the date of the jurisdiction's next required implementation progress report or 5 years after the jurisdiction's next comprehensive plan review. There is one amendment from Representative Dewar, Alley 376. This amendment removes the requirement that an environmental analysis for a proposed development include documentation that the requirements for analysis and protection of cultural resources and any required mitigation have been adequately addressed. It specifies that before an environmental analysis is finalized, the Department of Archaeology and Historic Preservation must review and provide comment on the implications of the project for cultural resources. And it changes the timeline for a jurisdiction to take action to establish the categorical exemption for a proposed housing development to within 2 years of the date for review or revision of the jurisdiction's comprehensive plan.
Next up is substitute Senate Bill 6140 concerning limited areas of more intensive rural development. As a brief reminder, this bill would allow new or redeveloped retail and food service use in mixed-use limited areas of more rural development to have retail space of up to 10,000 square feet or the size of a previously occupied space, whichever is greater, if certain conditions are met, if the retail space is for an essential rural retail service, and if the limited area of more intensive rural development is at least 10 miles from an urban growth area. Next up is Senate Bill 6173, encouraging investments in affordable home ownership unit development. As a brief reminder, this would allow revenue from the Affordable and Supportive Housing Sales and Use Tax to be used on housing and services for people at or below 80% of the median area income of the county or city imposing the tax, instead of only for those at or below 60% of the median income, when the revenue is supporting the development of affordable housing intended for owner occupancy. Oh, there are no amendments for substitute Senate Bill 6140 or for Senate Bill 6173.
Next is substitute Senate Bill 5869 concerning rural fire district stations. This bill exempts tracts of land used for establishing a site for the construction and operation of a rural fire district station from the state subdivision laws if certain requirements are met, and there are no amendments. Next is engrossed Senate Bill 6120 concerning the Wildland Urban Interface Code. This bill requires the Department of Natural Resources to complete a statewide wildfire hazard map and a base level wildfire risk map for each county. It allows jurisdictions to complete their own wildfire hazard and base level wildfire risk maps for use in applying the International Wildland Urban Interface Code until the statewide maps are complete, and it specifies which portions of the International Wildland Urban Interface Code the State Building Code Council must adopt. There are 2 amendments. The first one from Representative Dewar, Alley 375, which requires the Department of Natural Resources to develop a method by which local governments may update the wildfire hazard map as well as the wildfire risk map. There's also a striking amendment from Representative Dewar, H-3336.2. This striker adopts the full International Wildland Urban Interface Code as part of the State Building Code rather than specified portions, and it also requires the Department of Natural Resources to develop a method by which local governments may update the wildfire hazard map as well as the wildfire risk map.
Elizabeth,
Yes.
process question. If I want to withdraw the striker, do I do that now or later?
I think the best practice is to do it when you're moving the bill.
Okay, thank you.
Next up is engrossed second substitute Senate Bill 5955, mitigating harm and improving equity in large port districts. As a brief reminder, this would establish a grant program through July 1st, 2029, managed by the Department of Commerce to provide assistance to port districts that undertake noise mitigation programs for expenses related to the repair or replacement of noise mitigation equipment that is not working as intended, or for addressing hazards and structural damage that occur due to previously installed noise mitigation equipment. There are no amendments.
The next bill is substitute Senate Bill 6010, streamlining certain decisions pertaining to the development or extension of a trail or path from the State Environmental Policy Act. As a reminder, this bill provides a categorical exemption from the State Environmental Policy Act for decisions pertaining to paths or trails that meet certain criteria. There's one amendment from Representative Gaynor, Alley 374. This amendment removes the requirement that an applicant seeking to exempt a new or extended trail development from the State Environmental Policy Act engage in meaningful consultation with any federally recognized tribe that may be potentially affected by the proposed new trail. Next is substitute Senate Bill 5934 concerning pollinator habitat. As a reminder, this bill allows cities and counties to encourage permit applicants to include pollinator-friendly plants in landscaped areas. It prohibits cities, counties, homeowners associations, and common interest communities from banning beehives and pollinator habitats. There is one amendment from Representative Griffey, Alley 377. This amendment specifies that pollinator habitat does not include beehives except for mason bee houses. It removes language providing that common interest communities may not prohibit pollinator habitat and beehives that comply with local regulations. There's actually an additional amendment, also from Representative Griffey, Alley 381. This amendment also specifies that pollinator habitat does not include beehives except for mason bee houses, and it allows condominium associations to prohibit drought-resistant landscaping, pollinator habitat, and wildfire ignition-resistant landscaping.
Next up is substitute Senate Bill 5834 concerning urban growth areas. As a brief reminder, this bill would allow a county to revise an urban growth area during an annual comprehensive plan update if certain conditions are met. It would require the county to meaningfully consult with a federally recognized Indian tribe that could be potentially affected by the urban growth area revision prior to making the revision. There are no amendments.
And finally, engrossed Senate Bill 6167 concerning local government procurement rules. This bill delays implementation of a lowest responsible bidder definition and authorization to perform prudent utility management for certain jurisdictions until July 1st, 2025, and also requires the Capital Projects Advisory Review Board to review provisions related to the delay and make recommendations to the legislature by October 31st, 2024. There are no amendments.
Thank you very much. And with that, I think we will suspend, I don't know what the proper language is. We're going into caucus until 8:45. We will be back. Thank you. There we go. Okay, we are back and ready to move some bills. So we will not be moving on. Let me find the bill numbers. 6010 and 6167.
Madam Chair, I move that substitute Senate Bill 6015 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that substitute Senate Bill 6015 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Are there amendments?
There are amendments. I move striking amendment H3325.1.
Striking amendment H3325.1 or 2? Oh, okay. It's one, sorry.
Madam Chair, it is point 2.
It is point 2? Okay.
Point 2.
I move H3325.2. Are there amendments to the striking amendment?
There are amendments.
Madam Chair, I'd move Amendment Ali 379.
Amendment Alley 379 has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. The whole idea of this underlying bill is to, create more opportunities, I guess, and we wanted to make sure that I'm just suggesting that if we allow grass block pavers to count toward minimum parking requirements, that might be helpful in adding to the functionality of the bill itself. So I would encourage a yes.
We also agree. It's always good to have alternatives, and in this case, it would also allow for permeable surface, which is great for our stormwater systems. So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The amendment, Ali 379, is adopted. The motion before the committee is the adoption of striking amendment as amended. So the 3325.2, this amendment includes key improvements that have been stakeholdered, namely allowing, the cities had requested that we have put a kind of a cap on the gravel parking spaces. And it walks a careful balance between encouraging development and recognizing the practical needs of residents. The other piece is also trying to strike at a balance between parking and trees. And so I'm asking for a yes vote. Yes, of course.
So I just want to clarify now, we're about to vote on the striker, but then we will vote on the bill.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. So, Madam Striker, Madam Striker.
An early start to next week.
Yeah, I guess. So, Madam Chair, as it relates to the striker, we're hesitant here in that only the tree qualifications or requirements have been put in place, and I feel like this is probably not necessary. So, I think there's just caution on our part to not conflate anything that is already in place. So we would encourage a no on this striker.
Okay. All in favor of adopting the striking amendment, please say aye. 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 Those opposed?
Nay, sorry.
I was going to say, do we take a record of that? I'm not sure. Okay, the striking amendment is adopted. So the motion before the committee is that substitute Senate Bill 6015 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. So I think this bill is important as we look at how to make housing more affordable. And parking requirements make it difficult and expensive for developers to build new housing. And this provides some ways to make it more affordable. I would say the piece that was discussed around the tree ordinances was passed off the floor in a separate bill. So I'm asking for a yes vote.
Madam Chair. We agree that this is a good bill to, create more opportunity, and the things that you've mentioned, we definitely agree with. So we would encourage a yes also.
Sure.
A point of information. I just want to make sure we adopted the striking amendment as amended. Correct. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. As soon as we can pull up I think we can do a voice vote as soon as we pull up the voting tally. 60-15. All those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. And those opposed?
No, without recommendation.
Thank you. So the staff will announce the vote.
Madam Chair, there are 6 ayes, 1 nay, no excused.
By your vote, substitute Senate Bill 6015 is reported out of committee with a due pass as amended recommendation.
Madam Chair, I move that engrossed substitute Senate Bill 6061 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that engrossed substitute Senate Bill 6061 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Are there amendments?
There is an amendment. I move adoption of Amendment Ali 376.
Amendment Ali 376 has been moved and seconded So this striker is the result of some language that has been agreed upon, namely a way to include tribal participation in the process and an ability to, I guess, bring their interests and concerns to the process, which, so this is a trailer bill to last year's SEPA bill, which put the SEPA within the comprehensive plan. And so there was concern from the tribes that they didn't have a voice in that process. So this seeks to resolve that issue and also changes the timeline from the original bill to, for jurisdictions to take action to establish the categorical exemptions from 5 years to 2 years. So I'm asking for a yes vote.
Madam Chair, we do appreciate the amendment, and we are in agreement that it's a good addition to the bill.
Great. So can we do a voice vote? Oh, it's just the amendment. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed?
Madam Chair, I move that the adopted amendment be incorporated into a striking amendment
Sorry,
and that
I think we adopted it, right?
We're going to adopt it right now.
You just didn't announce after the
Oh, I'm sorry.
the amendment is.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the amendment is adopted. I apologize.
Madam Chair, I move that the adopted amendment be incorporated into a striking amendment and that engrossed substitute Senate Bill 6061 be reported out of committee with a due pass as amended recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that engrossed substitute Senate Bill 6061 is reported out of committee with a due pass as amended recommendation. Further discussion. As I said previously, this is a trailer bill to last year's SEPA reform bill that we passed with some important updates, including the sewage, addressing sewage concerns in terms of the SEPA that wasn't addressed in the original bill, and additionally the things that I included in my conversation with regarding the striking amendment. So we are asking for a yes vote.
And Madam Chair, we are going to be no on this bill just because it does require additional actions. We feel like the SEPA and the way it's been implemented and all the cultural conditions that are already set out are really working well, and the additional burden that it's placing on any development, in this case, I don't believe is really necessary. But with that, I would say we will be a no.
Okay, I guess we'll have staff call the roll then.
Representative Dewar.
Dewar votes aye.
Dewar votes aye. Representative Alvarado.
Alvarado votes aye.
Representative Alvarado votes aye. Representative Gaynor.
Nay without recommendation.
Gaynor votes nay without recommendation. Representative Jacobson.
Jacobson votes no without recommendation.
Then votes nay without recommendation. Representative Berg. Representative Berg votes aye. Representative Griffey.
Nay, do not pass.
Griffey votes nay, do not pass. Riccelli.
Riccelli votes aye.
Representative Riccelli votes aye.
Staff, please announce the vote.
Madam Chair, there are 4 ayes, 3 nays, no excused.
By your vote, Senate Bill 6061 is reported out of committee with a due pass as amended recommendation.
Madam Chair, I move that substitute Senate Bill 6140 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that substitute Senate Bill 6140 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Are there amendments?
There are no amendments.
Discussion. Representative Gaynor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill is really helping Lammerts, as we've talked about in detail, to actually function better. I mean, it is a localized area, more intense rural development, and these rural developments that have been existing, they're finding that they really need to have some commercial and retail facilities that haven't been there that will actually, cut down on vehicle miles traveled, make that Lambert more functional as a community. And I think it's a great bill to allow that to happen. It remains to be seen, how it will develop, but there's certainly the sideboards on Lamberts, but this does allow for that infill that, as I said, will make those Lamberts more attractive and functional for the people that are living there. So I would encourage a yes.
Representative Berg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Madam Chair, I agree with the good gentleman. This is a good bill for Lamberts. I think that as we have progressed this session talking about Lamberts and the needs in those communities, those small rural communities, this bill starts the process of getting us to a place where they can actually have more functionality. I know for the Lambert in my community, this won't be applicable because they are within 10 miles of an urban area. But for so many Lamberts around this state, this will be a small help. I'm hoping that this is one of many good Lambert bills that we'll have coming to this committee. And I'm suggesting a yes vote.
With that, I think we can do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Staff, please announce the vote.
Madam Chair, there are 7 ayes, no nays, no excused.
By your vote, by your vote, 61, substitute Senate Bill 6140 is reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Madam Chair, I move that Senate Bill 6173 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 6173 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Are there amendments?
There are no amendments.
Is there discussion? Representative Alvarado.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a bill that allows us to use existing revenue from a sales and use tax that's specifically for affordable housing and allows it to be invested to create more affordable homeownership. And we know that we need more homeownership options that are available to first-time home buyers and moderate income households, and this allows resources to be used for that purpose. It's not intended to have local communities use the resource instead of investments in housing for lower income households, but it's complementary and it allows local communities to serve a broad range of incomes and housing types and support the bill.
Representative Jacobson.
Thank you, and we support this bill. Also, it allows localities to use their 4309 tax credit that they got for more categories of homeowners. If you move the threshold from 60 to 80% of area median income, then you capture more of that middle housing market, which is missing. People can't afford it. And looking statewide, 12.3% of the households statewide can afford the median home sales price of $621,000. So obviously we have a lot of work to do in many facets of this problem. So thank you. Urge a yes.
Okay, with that, I think we can do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Does anyone wish to change their vote? With that, staff, please announce the vote.
Madam Chair, there are 7 ayes, no nays, and no excused.
By your vote, Senate Bill 6173 is reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Madam Chair, I move that substitute Senate Bill 5869 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that substitute Senate Bill 5869 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Are there amendments?
There are no amendments.
Is there discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair. This bill just exempts tracts of land from subdivision if a fire district wants to utilize that property. And where this would really be beneficial is that if you had to do the subdivision process, go through a short plat, establish property lines that then have to be moved in order to accommodate the construction of a new facility. It just allows the whole parcel to be utilized by that fire district. And it also has the constraints that there is water and sanitary sewer available. So it's a very narrowly drawn bill, but I'm sure that it will provide relief for a fire district that is looking to construct a new facility, and would encourage a yes.
Yes, and we agree. This bill would provide local fire districts flexibility to expand into rural areas with their fire protection needs. It's a good little bill. Sometimes the things that we do in local government are very small, seemingly small in impact, but they actually have a larger impact for smaller communities. So asking for a yes vote. I think we can do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Staff, please announce the vote.
Madam Chair, there are 7 ayes, no nays, no excused.
By your vote, substitute Senate Bill 5869 is reported out of committee with a do pass recommendation.
Madam Chair, I move that engrossed Senate Bill 6120 be reported out of committee with a do pass recommendation.
First of all, I'd like to withdraw the striking amendment. Are there amendments?
There is one amendment. Madam Chair, I move amendment 3336.2.
Madam Vice Chair, I believe that's the striking amendment.
That's true. I move amendment 375.
It has been moved and seconded, which amendment Ali 375 has been moved and seconded. Discussion. So this small technical amendment has been worked out and agreed upon by the bill sponsor and key stakeholders. It simply requires DNR to develop a method by which local governments may update the wildfire hazard map as well as the wildfire risk map. Asking for your support. Representative Gaynor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a bill that, I mean, it's a nice addition, I guess, to the underlying bill, in that it is important to have these maps updated. And we did hear from testimony that DNR is ultimately responsible, so it would be good to have maps that clearly reflect what's on the ground rather than something that has been outdated. So it is a positive addition to the underlying bill, and I'd encourage a yes.
Okay, all those in favor of passing LE 375, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Anyone wish to change their vote? By your vote, amendment LE 375 is adopted.
Madam Chair, I move that the adopted amendment be incorporated into a striking amendment, and that engrossed Senate Bill 6120 be reported out of committee with a do pass as amended recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that engrossed Senate Bill 6120 be reported out of committee with a do pass as amended recommendation. So this is not a simple bill by any means. I did remove the striking amendment because of the feedback that we received yesterday, but I still have underlying concerns about how the Code Council is being, it's kind of precedent setting in that normally when we adopt codes, whether national or international in the state of Washington, the Code Council is allowed to make amendments upon those codes, and in this bill they are not. And so I am voting yes with the understanding that the bill sponsor will continue to work with the State Building Code Council to find a path forward, and with that reluctant yes, asking for a yes vote. Representative Griffey.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I think it's important for people to, all of us here, Madam Chair, to understand what full implementation of WUI looks like. So our environmental protection policy, we want to add vegetation. We want to add scrubbers of CO2 and absorbers of CO2. If we fully adopt WUI code, there's going to be many houses that would have to have up to an acre of defensible space. So an acre of no vegetation other than small fire preventative grasslands and that sort of thing. WUI code is a sledgehammer. And I think what the good author of this bill is trying to do is get us closely WUI compliant without the devastation that full implementation would have. So I'm a reluctant yes as well, because I still think this might be putting us in the wrong direction as far as what our environmental policy we are trying to adopt in Washington State. So I urge us all to be careful when we are considering WUI and have a full, deep understanding of what full implementation would look like. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Gaynor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been an interesting evolution of the WUI adoption. When the WUI first started, it was truly a wildland-urban interface. What has evolved are the maps that include many areas that would have never been considered as part of an interface with wildland. And we have seen fires that have gone beyond what was originally thought of as that interface. But some of the codes that have already evolved have definitely driven up the cost of housing. And, you know, there is a cost-benefit ratio at times that needs to be considered. And I think that it's important for the locals to assess their communities, decide, you know, what is best for their communities. And that's where I think that this is going in the right direction, where there's more local input on those maps. But as I said, some of the maps that you look at right now, it includes way more area than would have ever been perceived to be part of a wild, even a threat, and because of the ember cast. But I also think that people need to be aware that you can defend a fire without having all hardened structures. I mean, it's there. You do, if you have defensible spaces and you take care into how you build and how you provide fire protection, it doesn't necessarily have to drive up the cost to the degree that we've seen. So I think we're probably all reluctant, yes, but and maybe not. But I will be one of those too that, you know, I'm very concerned about the full rollout of the WUI as it's being, I guess, addressed right now. I'm hopeful that there will be an opportunity for people to, once again, have that local input and decide what is best for their communities, and then do the preparation. You can have community wildfire protection plans, which I was a part of doing, which is for the good of the whole community. But if people don't address and understand what is in those codes or is what is in those plans, it really doesn't do us a lot of good. So it's really important that we educate people on how to protect their properties and to ensure that their communities are stable even when you do have a threat of fire. So with that, as I said, I'll be a yes.
Thank you. Representative Berg.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. And I just want to say quickly, this is a really hard bill, and there was a lot of negotiations, a lot of different stakeholders coming around. So I just wanted to commend the process. I think we all are here, maybe not all of us reluctantly, but I think to get to yes, but I think getting to yes and respecting the process is something to be commended in this element. So just wanted to add my words.
Thank you. Should we do a voice vote or should we do a? Okay. Didn't know if there were any reluctant no's. With that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Anyone wishing to change their vote? All right, great. Staff, please announce the vote.
Madam Chair, there are 7 ayes, no nays, no excused.
By your vote, Engrossed Senate Bill 6120 is reported out of committee with a due pass as amended recommendation.
Madam Chair, I move that engrossed second substitute Senate Bill 5955 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that engrossed second substitute Senate Bill 5955 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Are there amendments?
There are no amendments.
Is there discussion? Representative Alvarado.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This bill seeks to address a challenge that communities are facing on the ground. I represent parts of Seattle and unincorporated King County that are right under the flight path going to Sea-Tac. And we know that homeowners and households are facing real challenges with air pollution and noise pollution and the disproportionate impacts of living close to our major airport. This is a bill that's changed over time. It started quite large and it's now much more modest, but establishes a new fund and a new mechanism to create partnered investments in supporting pollution mitigation in homes, in communities that have really been disproportionately impacted. I think it's a very important step to be responsive to our communities, and it is a thoughtful approach to creating a new grant program that would be established by the Department of Commerce to help our community members in need.
Representative Gaynor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In some ways, this bill really brings some to, I guess, there's a dilemma of sorts in determining, where people choose to live, what are pre-existing activities. There are often, and I live with this too, where people come to a certain area and they know what's there, but then they, after they're there, they say, well, I didn't realize it was going to affect me this way. And that, in some ways, with Sea-Tac, it has been a significant economic benefit for the whole of the region. We all benefit from it. I think we've probably all flown out of there. And it's been there, I don't know, 1930s, I think it started. So it's not like people were not aware of what kind of goes with the territory, and I'm sure property values have been, adjusted accordingly because you are in close proximity to the airport, as you might be along the railroad tracks or whatever. But having said that, I think that it is important. There have been commitments made to mitigate for the things that are there, and I think that, and when I say the things, the noise and particularly, and when there's been a program that's been in place and it hasn't, the products haven't performed as intended or purported to have a life expectancy, and they haven't reached that, then it's important for people to be able to rest in the assurances that they have behind those products. So I think this grant program does allow for those changes to be made, and I think that it's very important that, once again, we make good on our promises to take care of people that are impacted in this way. So with that, we'll be a yes on this bill.
Okay, it sounds like we can do a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Does anyone want to change their vote? Okay, with that, staff, please announce the vote.
Madam Chair, there are 7 ayes, no nays, no excused.
By your vote, engrossed second substitute Senate Bill 5955 is reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move that substitute Senate Bill 5934 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that substitute Senate Bill 5934 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Are there amendments?
There are amendments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to withdraw 377.
Are there other amendments?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move 381.
It has been, amendment Ali 381 has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Representative Griffey.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I do believe that us paying attention to our pollinators and making sure that they have good places to live and a good habitat to thrive in is a noble and laudable effort. There are, however, concerns that some of those pollinators can sting, and there's some combined and communities that have a lot more density that wanted some protections. I think this amendment, while I know it still has some work to be done on it, I think this amendment gets us to a more middle ground where we can continue to discuss this. So I ask its adoption.
Representative Riccelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I think we are lining up with the intent and understand the direction we're headed. There were some questions. Will be a yes, but look forward to maybe ironing out just some technical language to make sure it's capturing the full intent and doing what we want. So, but we're a yes for now.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? The amendment is adopted.
Madam Chair, I move that the adopted amendment be incorporated into a striking amendment and that substitute Senate Bill 5934 be reported out of committee with a due pass as amended recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that substitute Senate Bill 5934 be reported out of committee with a due pass as amended recommendation. Is there discussion? Representative Riccelli. On the, oh, I'm sorry, Griffey. Representative Griffey.
Well, I like this bill, I would like to see. I didn't know a lot about pollinators, and I do think that it is important to understand that we are really having struggles in our environment with our bee species that they're dying off. We have invasive bee species that are coming in. And I think this really helps our Washington state-specific species, and I ask for its adoption. Thank you.
Representative Riccelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple things. I agree with the remarks made. I mean, and I think we have to pay close attention. I certainly hear a lot in Eastern Washington about the importance of pollinators. I also want to say I was on my town hall last night. Somebody asked, well, do people actually bring ideas to you all? And absolutely. So I think this is one of those cases. I think it's fantastic that we had a young person who, quite frankly, they're a lot of times more in tune with what's going on with our environment and the concerns we have for the future generations. And really appreciate her bringing it forward for consideration. So I think this is a good piece of legislation. Yeah, we have to be concerned too about getting stung. So in honor of that, my very first piano playing had the words that went, buzzing, buzzing, bee around the tree. Please to be polite enough to let me be. And with that, I'd ask for a yes.
Fantastic. I think we can do a voice vote. Or, yeah. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Does anyone wish to change their vote? Okay. Staff, please announce the vote.
Madam Chair, there are 7 ayes, no nays, no excused.
By your vote, substitute Senate Bill 5934 is reported out of committee with a due pass as amended recommendation.
Madam Chair, I move that substitute Senate Bill 5834 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
It has been moved and seconded that substitute Senate Bill 5834 be reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. Are there amendments?
There are no amendments.
Is there discussion? Representative Gaynor?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This bill really is a
I just got a promotion.
Madam Speaker. So, well, Madam Stryker, Madam Speaker, Madam Chair. I'll hit them all before. Is there anywhere else to go? All right, Madam President. Anyway, urban growth areas have really been a very controversial subject, I guess, as the Growth Management Act has rolled out in the last 30 years. And unfortunately, a lot of jurisdictions have locked in UGAs, and they've been held to those outer boundaries. And what really has materialized over time is the fact that, you have to have willing developers of the property. You have to have the right topography for the development that people might want to have. And what we've seen is people have taken the advantage of what was there, but it wasn't necessarily in lockstep with the way the city had planned. This bill just allows people to adjust their urban growth boundaries in a way that still maintains the same net area, but it provides a more responsive urban growth area and boundary that really reflects what is happening and what will naturally occur. And it is just a good, somewhat tweak to our planning, but it allows for cities to do more effective planning with their infrastructure build out. And it is, to me, it's a great adjustment to the current planning standards. So I would encourage a yes.
Thank you, and we agree. I think responsiveness to development that's occurring and allowing a swap, so to speak, of land that's not being developed for various reasons, whether it's critical areas or wetlands, makes a lot of sense. And also, I think it's important that there is built into the process consultation with the tribes so that their voices are heard at the table as well. So I believe this is a good bill, and I'm also recommending a yes vote. I think our final vote can be a voice vote, and it's going to be unanimous. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Don't you dare.
Wait, you got to ask if we're going to switch our vote.
Do you want to switch your vote? Staff, will you please announce the vote?
Madam Chair, there are 7 ayes, no nays, no excused.
By your vote, substitute Senate Bill 5834 is reported out of committee with a due pass recommendation. And our work is done for this session. I want to thank everybody for their really hard work. I think we got a lot of really good work done. We passed some really impactful bills, both big and small. I would also like to thank staff. As always, you do us proud, and we always hear from senators how wonderful you are to work with. So thank you for all of your efforts. Yes, Representative Gaynor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would echo the comments that the chair has made, Madam Chair. Make sure I get that right. But, I also feel like, with a session like we had, a short session, there were a lot of bills that came through here. There was a lot of consideration as to what kind of policy how we're going to approve or pass on. And I appreciate everyone's input and what we have done. There are some good things that are moving and changing, and hopefully, because we'll, of course, still have to have approval of the body as a whole. But it's important for us to recognize how much work has gone behind the scenes. And so staff, Kellen, Elizabeth, and Eric and Dana, your contributions to helping us be better informed as to what the policy is greatly appreciated. And so I just want to express our thanks to your hard work. So thank you.
With that, we are adjourned.